What is going on, Crimson Tide fans? Chris Daughtery here with the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. Coming up on today's show, I am going to do my absolute best to try to talk about what is going on right now in college football with this House settlement right now. There's a lot of different things going on. It is extremely confusing. I am still kind of confused about what's going on, but we're all going to get through it at the exact same time. There are a lot of different things going on right now with college football in terms of this House settlement that is coming out right now and being rolled out here recently. The general overview, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about that back pay agreement for some of those players who are not allowed to earn NIL. Those guys are getting paid, and girls too, I guess, as well, are getting paid, some of what they probably should have been being paid before NIL really came into the fold here in 2021. We're also going to talk about Rev Share as well, roster limits. Those are really the two biggest things, Rev Share and roster limits, and how that is actually different from NIL. So we'll talk about NIL and how they're kind of trying to rein that in as well and kind of have some rules around NIL. At the end of the day, I think there's some good, I think there's some bad, I think there's some things that we're still going to have to work through in terms of NIL, this Rev Share stuff, the roster limits, transfer portal. There's a whole lot of different things that I do still think are going to have to be worked out. But at the end of the day, you got to just start making some of these changes, figure out some of the bugs in those changes, and then you can continue to fix those changes as well. Just what you see right now is not necessarily what's probably going to be happening in the next, 5 to 10 years. It might even change a little bit as of that. So we're going to try to break it all down on today's show. But if you guys still love college football like I do, I love the pageantry. I still don't think that's really gone anywhere. You talk about going to the games on Saturday, it's still an electric atmosphere at the end of the day. So if you guys still love college football, make sure you drop a like on today's show. All right, first up is the situation of back pay. And this is one thing that confuses me a little bit because there is $2.8 billion now that the NCAA is going to be paying athletes from 2016 to 2024 that were not allowed to get NIL. Now, NIL came about in 2021, so I understand the before the 2021 season. I don't necessarily understand what didn't allow players after that 2021 to 2024 window to not get NIL. But, it's good that some of those athletes before the NIL started can actually benefit from, at the end of the day, these athletes are the ones that are going out on the field. We are watching the athletes. We're not watching the NCAA on Saturdays or, what other sports, Tuesdays, Thursdays, whatever it is. You're not watching the NCAA. You're watching these athletes, and these athletes are the reason these big TV deals are getting cut, and that's where all that money is coming from, and it's going straight to the NCAA. It never really made sense when, at the end of the day, the athletes are the ones that make college sports great at the end of the day. So I do think back pay is a very good thing that is happening. It allows some of those players who weren't able to get paid to now kind of recoup some of those payments as well. This is what Greg Byrne, Alabama's athletic director, kind of issued a statement on the House settlement. I believe he said this today. He said, one of the biggest transformational changes in college athletics is upon us, and Alabama athletics has been planning for this day and making decisions that best position our department for long-term success. Approval of the House settlement offers stability going forward, which is something that is much needed. I definitely think that is a sentiment that a lot of us share as well. We're extremely proud of the world-class resources our student athletes receive, and will now add to that by offering new scholarships while fully funding revenue sharing. In addition, our student athletes have the distinct benefit of Yea Alabama, which focuses on creating authentic NIL opportunities powered by both the Alabama and student athlete brands. The Crimson Tide Sports Marketing and Learfield will also continue to cultivate local and national opportunities that greatly benefit our student athletes. We have a long history of being one of the most successful athletic departments, and we will carry on that tradition as we enter this new world. Now, I will say as well, Greg Byrne has come out and, he has openly talked about the fact that they've been planning for this for a long, long time. So, when you talk about the, house settlement and you talk about the revenue sharing that we'll touch on a little bit more here as well, it's got to be split up in different ways. It is not just going to football. So that's a big thing that Greg Byrne and the rest of the athletic directors around the country are going to have to deal with as well. Really the goal right now of the House settlement is to provide some kind of rules to the NIL era. The biggest element here is the introduction of revenue sharing and roster limits. Those two things are completely different. You have revenue sharing that is coming from the TV deals and other big things like that. And then you have NIL, which is, still going to be a thing. That is not going away. And these roster limits as well are changing a little bit. I think the SEC is still actually sitting at 85. I think that's going to stay the same for at least one more year. But, the House settlement, it does go into effect in just a couple of weeks here on July 1st. And the plan right now, it's supposed to last at least 10 years, and they'll revisit it again there. But college football is crazy. College athletics just in general is going through a crazy time right now. So we will see how long that actually lasts. Now you talk about the roster limits as well. The House settlement established roster limits for schools. It actually even, they took away the scholarship counts as well. So schools can actually, football in particular is moving from 85 on the roster to 105 on the roster. Now, those scholarship limits used to be 85, but then you can go up and have, whatever that math comes out to be, 15 walk-ons. Well, now schools actually have the ability to determine how many scholarships they can actually afford, because at the end of the day, the schools are actually going to be the ones that are paying for those scholarships. So if Texas can go out there and they can afford 105 scholarships, they can have 105 scholarships. But the thing, in my opinion, is what if these smaller schools may not necessarily be able to afford that many scholarships? They're going to have to, just offer as many as they possibly can pay for, and then they're going to have walk-ons as well. You talk about the walk-ons too. This is one of these things where it's probably going to eliminate walk-ons from college football and just college sports in general, and I don't necessarily think that's a good thing either. Walk-ons are a very, very big part of college athletics. Just because these guys don't go out there and play on Saturdays doesn't mean they are not a big part of the team. They go out there throughout the week, whether that's Sunday through Friday, and they, give your regular starters really good looks, and you're not necessarily going to have that. And it might even, have players on the lower side of the roster. They might end up hitting the transfer portal, which walk-ons might not necessarily have done here in the past. Let's talk about Rev Sharing as well. Schools will now share revenue that they get from these big TV deals and what the sport is actually generating in total. And basically, it's going to come out to be a salary cap is basically what it is, of $20.5 million. And that goes to all the sports. It is not just college football, which, is something considering college football and college basketball are really the only two sports out there that actually generate revenue. Most of the other sports, at least out at Alabama anyways, they don't generate any revenue. So, you're going to have to divide that up into different types of things. Some schools are also talking about just doing away with, particular sports. I don't think Alabama's going to have to go that far. Greg Byrne's kind of touched on that a little bit, but he just kind of threw it out there as a, hey, schools might have to do this. Don't necessarily think Alabama's going to have to do it, but that's where we are right now. And you also have to consider Title IX as well. I don't know all the inner workings of Title IX, but I do know you have to have the same number of scholarships for women's sports and men's sports. So you have to take all of that different stuff into consideration, and you're going to have to split that $20.5 million up in a way that can benefit all your sports. And I believe I read earlier, it is still going to be about 75% of that $20.5 million will go to football, but you're going to have to split it up pretty equally among the rest of your sports. So let me know here at the pinned comment of today's video, is the House settlement going to be a good thing for college football? Let me know what you guys think at the pinned comment. Type Y for yes or N for no. All right, let's talk about the future of NIL now. It is not going away, but I do think we're going to get more of that what it was originally supposed to be. Name, image, and likeness. Guys being able to go out there and get some of these opportunities from, what they are really worth. They're going out there, right now, and there's a lot of pay for play going on, and that's kind of what we're trying to steer away from. Now, NIL and revenue sharing, those are separate things. NIL is still going to be a thing. Yea Alabama is still going to be a thing, but they are going to try to have more rules and guidelines around this. And you talk about the impact. You have a company like Deloitte who's going to come in and run a clearinghouse for NIL contracts. So any of these NIL contracts that are above $600, they actually have to go through this program called NIL Go, and they're going to have to be approved. The goal for this is to kind of eliminate some of those, pay-for-play / fake NIL deals that you have been getting here in the past couple of seasons as well. And one of the most interesting things, a big question comes up, what constitutes a real NIL deal? Well, Deloitte actually talked to ACC officials, and they actually gave them a very, very interesting breakdown here. Basically, about 90% of these NIL deals that players were receiving from some of these public companies, 90% of those are still going to be approved. But the big thing there, the booster collectives, like a Yea Alabama and others across the country, 30% of those NIL deals had approval ratings. So 70% were actually not going to be, approved. They're going to have to go through some scrutiny. What that means, we don't necessarily know exactly what that means yet, but when it comes to those public companies, you got guys like Ryan Williams out there getting some of these NIL deals from the nail polish company. You have Will Conformi getting that NIL deal from Taco Casa. Like those still things, those are legitimate name, image, and likeness opportunities. They can go out there and they can sign autographs, get money from that, put on these camps and things like that. That is still going to be a positive thing for college football. The hope here is that the pay for play type of, booster money that some of these players are getting isn't going to be a thing. Now, there are still going to be some issues here with, the clearinghouse as well. And, it kind of remains to be seen. There are a lot of questions going on right now. Will there be punishments? Is the bag man still going to be a, real thing? I don't know if it is or not. Because at the end of the day, what is going to be the punishment if some of these teams don't actually go out there and follow the rules? Is there going to be proper usage? Don't really know what's going to happen. But what Alabama is doing and what they've been doing for a long time now is, they've been going out there and they've been doing NIL the right way. I'm sure some players, have been getting those stipends right out of high school or whatever it is. But Alabama really does a really good job of allowing players to build their brand. And at the end of the day, that is what NIL was supposed to be about. So Greg Byrne, Alabama's athletic director, he is making some really, really big decisions right now in terms of how they're going to be splitting up this revenue sharing and whatnot. So what is your confidence level in Alabama's athletic director, Greg Byrne? Let me know down in the comments. Scale it for me. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. We'll continue on here in just a second with some enforcement and other things as well. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. You guys can get this Alabama Scenic Polo today. Got a lot of different things on the shirt. You got Denny Chimes on there. You got the stadium, you got the band practice field, Coleman Coliseum. A lot of different things that are on campus are on that shirt. I think it makes for a really, really good Father's Day gift as well. So just go over to chatsports.com/Bama Polo. That is on sale today. Get it for Father's Day. Get it today right now so it actually shows up on Father's Day as well. I'll put that link down in the comment section and the description of today's video. Now, we just talked a little bit about how are they actually going to enforce any of this stuff. Well, the NCAA has lost a lot of power in recent years. So what they have decided to do, they're going to make a college sports commission that is supposed to be able to step up and enforce some of these rules. I kind of think they're doing things a little bit backwards here. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But former MLB executive Brian Staley will be the CEO of this college sports commission. And I do think this college sports commission is probably a good idea, but wasn't that kind of the same exact thing as what the NCAA was supposed to be at the end of the day? My biggest concern right now is what are the actual rules and will schools actually follow them? I kind of have this feeling that schools are still going to be able to go out there and they're going to be able to find loopholes in the rules and whatever they actually end up coming out with. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but they're trying things, and at the end of the day, I think that's all you could really ask. They're trying to patch the situation that they just let go wild over the past couple of seasons. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report as well. We will continue to update you guys on any of these, house settlements or any other things going on right now. You got Alabama recruiting going on right now, so do not miss out. Make sure you guys hit that sub button for me. It's youtube.com/@RollTideTV. Now, the key college sports leaders right now are trying to get the SCORE Act passed in Congress. And this is what I was talking about when I said that I think they were kind of doing things a little bit backwards. I kind of feel like they should have done this before they actually did the House settlement and tried to sue the NCAA here. And, what is the SCORE Act? What are the goals for that? Well, these are some of the goals put forth for the SCORE Act. Basically, what it's doing is you have these state laws and then you have federal laws. Well, if all the states have different laws, then you can't really have any type of unity when it comes to some of these rules. So you got to have a national, or you got to have federal laws that can kind of override some of these state laws. And they want to be able to actually establish this college sports commission as a power entity, something that can actually be able to enforce some of these rules. Some of the rules that they're trying to enforce and change as well. The transfer portal, some of these eligibility things where you got kids that are 27 years old still playing in college sports. While I understand some of the eligibility things, I think it's kind of getting a little bit out of hand. You shouldn't have Tyler Shuck going to the NFL, who is older than like 7 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. It's absolutely ridiculous. One of the best things about this SCORE Act as well, they want to require athlete agents to actually register, whether that's to some commission or whatever it is, I'm not exactly sure. But you got a lot of these phony agents out here who at the end of the day are just trying to make money, just like the NCAA was, on the backs of some of these students as well. And they're just trying to restore some of these NCAA powers that you see in the past couple of years. The NCAA is getting sued left and right. And I don't know if you guys know of a situation where the NCAA has actually won a case. You can let me know down in the comments section. But there's a lot of confusing things going on right now in terms of this House settlement. I'll be figuring it out just like you guys are figuring it out as things kind of play out. But that is kind of the, view of what is going on right now with this House settlement decision.